All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about finding the difference between two dates in Excel, which is really pretty straightforward. Basically, if you add or subtract two dates, it'll give you the output in the number of days, and then we can use that to find other information. So one thing I like to do is verify the remaining term alone. So in this sample tape, they gave us the maturity dates, and then they actually already gave us the remaining term, but a lot of times I like to verify that data for myself because I found errors in the data on tape many times before. In fact, just recently I found one where the P&I was wrong and it was correct on the note, but when I went back and checked with the seller, they found out that their servicer had actually had their P&I set wrong in their portal, and they were collecting the wrong amount, so they were thankful that I pointed that out to them. So in this case, for a remaining term, and actually I should have put this over here. So I want to know the difference between the maturity date and then the next payment that's due. So this is a pretty straightforward, simple thing, but some people don't realize this in Excel. If I take the difference between two dates, it'll give me the output in days. Now in this case, this column I added was formatted as a date, so it gave it to me as a date, X number of days past the year 1900. But if I change the format to general, it gives me the number of days. So they're 1,065 days behind. If I want to turn that into number of months, I can either just divide by 30, which gets me close, or if I want to be more precise, since there aren't exactly 30 days in a month, I can divide by 365 divided by 12. That gives me 30. Clean up the decimals. If we drag that down, we can see that it looks like this is agreeing with the data that they gave. So 35, 35, just spot checking some of these. That looks like that all makes sense. So that's good. The other thing I like to do is, and again, sometimes they give this to you, sometimes they don't, but I want to calculate the number of months behind. So I'll use that data for a variety of things. And when you're calculating the number of months behind, you want to check what date they ran the tape, so it's not always today's date. And they usually give this to you, not necessarily always. And in this case, this report was run on October 10th, 2018, so this is an older tape. So I'm checking how many months behind. I want to check it versus where this data was run. Otherwise, there are going to be discrepancies. It's going to look like, if I use today's date, which is in March 2019, then it would look like everything is 5 months behind what it actually is. So again, we can look at the difference between the due date. Actually, let me just do it the other way. Between the date it was run and the due date. We've got 1,865 days behind. Then we can turn that into a number of months by dividing by 365 divided by 12. So this is 61 months behind. And I'll use this data for a variety of reasons, for a variety of things. One thing I do is I'll filter, and if something is too many months behind, I won't even bid on it. For example, some of the stuff, that's 5 years behind, it's probably beyond my normal threshold. And then getting closer, we've got some here that's only 1 month behind, that's almost current, 3 months behind. When I'm running this through my ROI calculator, the minimum ROIs that I will target for different scenarios will vary based on how many months behind it is. So for example, if it's much further behind, that means that the likelihood of going to a foreclosure is higher, and therefore I want a higher return in that foreclosure scenario. If it's only a little bit behind, where some of these, 3 months behind, 1 month behind, that's basically subperforming. So I know that my probability of actually going through foreclosure, turning into an REO, is lower. And so in that case, I might be willing to accept a lower ROI on the foreclosure scenario, assuming I get a good return on a reperforming or modification scenario, because I know the likelihood of that foreclosure is smaller. And I'm kind of getting into a topic for another time now, but I just did want to talk about how you can look at the number of months between two dates in Excel, because it's something that comes in very handy as you're going through tapes. Thanks.